namaskar, sat sri akal, vanakkam, and a very warm welcome to my channel, The Visionary Parent, Empowering Parent-Child Relationships, and to the series of Wisdom from Parenting Experts. My name is Apurva Tareyadwadkar. I am an inner child healer, a child psychology coach, and a founder of the Visionary Parent Hub. I am on a mission to help 1 million parents heal their inner child, help them build a vision for their children, and hence empower their relationship with them. So, today in the Wisdom from Parenting Experts series, I have a very special guest. She is what I feel is a torch bearer for the Indian parenting coaches. She is true inspiration for all the parents out there. Help me welcome our very own Riddhi Deorah. But before I call her on the stage to share some excellent parenting tips and value nuggets, let me introduce her to you. She is India's leading parenting expert, an influencer, and the founder of the Easy Parenting Hub, and runs her own digital school where thousands of mothers are learning. She's on a mission to help 100,000 mothers become confident, creative, and courageous. So help me welcome Riddhi Deorah. Thank you so much, Riddhi, for joining me in this chat. And it's an honor, it's a pleasure to have you on my channel.
Thank you so much, Apurva, for having me here. Yes.
Thank you, Riddhi. So my very first question that I always wanted to ask you ever since I've been following you, Riddhi, who is Riddhi Deorah? Like, how did you get into this parenting space? Can you just brief us a little?
Right. So, yes, that's a question that I get asked very often. So, to be honest, Apurva, this is not something that I'd ever planned, like as a school going girl. In fact, I was a very shy girl. Even now, as I speak with you, I'm quite private in personal life. And I never planned that I would become a parenting coach. But when I became a mother for the first time, I went through my own parenting mess. And that's when the journey started for me, the journey of learning how to become a better mother. And when I started learning and when I surrendered myself to a few mentors, that's when I realized that learning was actually helping me a lot on this journey. And during that time, I get this, like an intuitive call of sorts where I felt that, I should also help other mothers and sort of turn my mess into a message. And that's how it started. And then there's a long story. And I turned my Instagram profile public, which was like, of course, not very easy for me back then. And it's been almost 6.5 years now. And I started sharing like small pieces of stories with mothers and with parents about the mess that I'd gone through, what was working for me, how was I helping myself, how was I helping my child. And then a lot of mothers resonated, and they also gave me a lot of ideas. And then there has been no looking back. I got certified as a parenting expert, as a life coach, got a few international certifications, and now I'm running my own digital school. So I think that I had never planned it, but I kept taking action. And I honestly feel that, God has put me on this path and I'm just doing God's work. And it truly means a lot to me. Like, it's very fulfilling every day to be doing the work that I'm doing. So yeah, that's how it all started, and that's how I plan to continue it going forward.
Such an inspirational story, Riddhi. For me as well, it started with a mess, and now I'm carrying this message. Mess, it said, right? Your mess will become messier before it becomes your message. So I really love that. And what I truly wanted to understand is that how important is parenting these days? Because earlier we did not have a set of guidelines or anything for parents. Like, we have been parented by our parents, and they have been nurtured by their parents. So it's like an ancestral imprint that's being carried on, right? So how much important is it, and how much importance do we give to parenting your child these days?
Right. So I think parenting has always been important. It's just that it's getting a lot of attention now because also we get to know that people are doing it because of the internet and because of the technological advancement that we've seen. But I think parenting has always been an important topic, and now mothers, I think, and mothers or even parents for that matter, are really stepping up and they're wanting to learn, because things have changed and expectations have changed. And I think that parenting is not just about you and your child, but it's also about the people around you. So what everybody else around you is doing. So like, when we were growing up, and if a parent hit his child or hit her child in a party, nobody was judging them, right? And even the child did not feel that he or she was being differentially treated, because every other child was also being hit, right? So it was a very normal thing to hit and
Absolutely.
to do all of those things. So that's why children who were growing up then and who were getting hit, they did not feel very different, or they did not feel that they were getting some exclusive treatment, and it was fine then. But now, because very few parents are actually hitting their children, so now if you hit your child, then that child is going to feel that that child is getting exclusive treatment. Why only me? Like, why am I the odd one out? Why only my parents treat me this way? So that's why I think now, because of the pressure from the society, and also because of the willingness of parents to do better for their children, they are actually trying to sort of learn this as a topic and do better for their children. And I think it's very important that we do it, because we have two options: either we just do it or we learn and do it. And I think when you learn and do it, it's a lot simpler. So why not take the simpler route when you have that route available? So I think
Absolutely.
yes. So I think it's great. And also, I feel that a lot of parenting has been very observation based. Like, parents have been doing what they have observed their parents do it. So there are two things that happen. Either you do what your parents did, if you had a good childhood while growing up, or you don't do what your parents did if you feel your childhood was very difficult. But either of these two approaches might not be the best approach for your child. So I think
Mm,
it's good if there is some scientific backup to what you're doing. And
mm,
now, getting access to good information is not so difficult.
mm.
And now that we are anyway spending so much time on the internet, it makes sense to get access to good quality information and do it the right way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, so yeah, what you shared was absolutely bang on. During COVID, I feel the need has increased, right? During COVID, parents were at home and mothers were at home, and they did not have those resources to handle how to handle a child's tantrum, right? And that's when the need started even more, right? So nowadays, we see, like, due to COVID also, it has impacted a lot. We see parents complaining about screen addictions. That's a number one at the top, I think, in the list, right? So how would you address them, and like what advice would you give to parents who are really seeking for some information on how to really stop the screen addictions, right?
Right. So the first thing that we need to sort of get out of the room is that our children are born into technology, so there is going to be some sort of influence of the screen which you cannot eliminate. But of course, having said that, there are certain things that you have to do right. First, you have to be aware of what your child is consuming. That also, the second rule, which I feel really helps, is having a fixed device, a fixed spot, and a fixed time. If you can fix these three things, it really helps. And also understanding, why do our children really want the screen? We are always looking for the solution, but understanding why are they always wanting the screen is also very important. So as children always want the screen because the feel good hormone, the dopamine, is released every time they get access to the screen. Now when you're taking away the screen, there is the dopamine falls and your child gets very irritated. So it's not completely our children's fault, it's also the brain acting and the hormones acting inside them. So it's very important that we create multiple dopamine experiences for our children. So right now, what is happening is that, because when the screen is taken away, the child does not know what to do. There is nothing else that the child knows that the child can do which would release the same level of dopamine for him or her. And that's why they get very irritated, very frustrated, and all that they are wanting is the screen. So if you as a parent can create different experiences for your child which would release dopamine for your child, then your child will be like, okay, ठीक है, screen nahi mila, that's okay. Can I do some painting instead? Okay, let me see, if not painting, if not screen, can I do some sensory play instead? Can I do reading instead? Can I play the keyboard instead? So you as a parent have to invest a little in terms of trying to create a few experiences for your child which would have the same dopamine effect for your child. And if you can do that, then you would not see your child wanting the screen all the time. But the problem is that we are just wanting to take away the screen, but we are not willing to invest in terms of creating alternate experiences for our children. So I think if we do that, it's going to definitely help our children, and it's also going to help us. So there's a little bit of initial effort that is required from the parents. And once that happens, I think you're set. You don't have to keep doing it again and again. Yes.
Wow, thank you so much, Riddhi. Just out of the box, just came out of my mind right now.
Yes.
What I would like to ask, there are some, parents who, since childhood, they did not have the right kind of support, right? And they just give their mobile phones because, I wanted to cook, so I just gave my mobile to my daughter. So that's how the children started to have the exposure for screen. Now they are wanting to just reduce it or lessen the time, but now they are facing challenge because the child is used to that watching that 1 hour television or 1 hour mobile. So how would you what would you suggest them in order to reduce the time, and how gradually can we do it?
Right. So yeah, that's a great point, Apurva. So I think more than children, we as parents need to be very disciplined around screen. And more often than not, we give it for our own convenience, like you just mentioned. Like, you'll give it if there's a friend or if there's a party at your place. And we give it to them, and once they get used to it, I think it's very unfair to just sort of want it back immediately once your
Yeah.
work is done. And there are cases where once your work is done, even if your child is in between or is watching a video, you're expecting the child to let go of the device, which I feel is not fair completely. So of course it has to be gradual, but not very gradual also, because it would not work. So I think fixing like a limit and consequence. So for me, and having an idea about what your maximum permissible screen time is going to be, clarity about that. So for me, I'm giving like 45-50 minutes to my son over and above all the online classes that he does. So for me, I'm not very like against screen and technology and all of that. So most of his classes are online because I think it saves a lot of travel time and commute and all of that. So because classes are just for half an hour. So I'm giving him like 45 minutes screen time over and above everything. And the timing is also fixed. Sometimes I move it around. Let's say if I have a morning class. So I think it's better if I move it around and match it with my class. So I think that is very important. So if you as a parent think that, for you, based on your professional and personal commitments, 1 hour works, give it for 1 hour. If you think 2 hours work, give it for 2 hours. But once you've decided what that number is going to be, try and stick with it. And give your child some predictability around screen time, which means that do not give it anywhere and everywhere. Do not just give your phone randomly in your room, or I think so for me it's like TV in the living room, and the time is 3:30 to 4:15, 4:20 usually. And sometimes I move it around depending on my class timings. So I think if you can actually, and it's going to be difficult for the parent initially, because your child might come to you at a spot where you really want to do something, and they understand that this is the time when I should really go to her and she's going to give it to me. So
Yeah.
if you can really stand your ground then and tell your child that I'm sorry, this is not your time, that's when your child will understand that no matter what, I'm not going to get it. So I think being more disciplined ourselves as parents will make it more predictable for them. And
Hmm.
once they are used to it, it gets a habit, then they don't want to go back on it themselves.
Right, right. And what I also feel is that the kind of lifestyle that we're having at the moment. Earlier, we used to have joint families, and now it's more of a nuclear, like moreover, we'll see that nuclear families are there, and that's why mothers get really busy and they get really frustrated if they're not getting the me time. So, what I would like to ask, like that's where I'm going. There are nuclear families and there are joint families. So, for me, personally, I stay in a joint family, and they both have pros and cons, right? So, what would you suggest people who are in nuclear families and people who are in joint family? Like, how would you address them separately and just to keep their sanity? Even in
Yes,
joint family, you get that you become insane sometimes. You're like, oh my God, what's happening with me, right? So,
yes,
how would you like to address these two different set of people?
right. So I think it all depends on how you think. So, we have thoughts about ourselves, we have thoughts about others, and then the third thing is like, we have thoughts about our environment. Now, understand that, if your environment is something that you cannot change, like, the weather, it's not in our control. Just like that, sometimes the immediate environment might not be under your control. So it's very important that instead of trying to fight it, you embrace it. And the sooner you embrace it, the easier it is. And as humans, our brain is designed to always focus on the negative. So even so, if you're in a nuclear setup, you'll find excuses like, no support, I'm having to do everything on my own, I don't know where to leave my child. You'll have those kind of excuses. And if you're in a joint family setup, you'll have set of excuses like, I have no control over my child, they're feeding my child whatever they want, or they're giving extra screen time to my child. So you'll have your different set of excuses ready. So those
Yeah.
set of excuses can happen in any situation, provided you are that person who wants to go that way, right? So if you decide that, I'm somebody, and I'm somebody that I'm who is not going to make excuses, and I'm going to do the best that I can in my current situation, then I think it's going to become easier for you. But if you're just thinking that, by talking about the problem, you can actually solve the problem, it's not going to happen. So I think understanding that it's going to be like that and energetically distancing yourself from whatever drama is happening around you. And so this is something that I share a lot with mothers in my community. Don't be drama focused, be goal focused, which means that you can only focus on one thing at a time, right? You cannot focus on both these pieces. So you can either choose to focus on the drama or whatever is happening in your life, or you can focus on whatever it is that you want to build or create, or where you really wish to contribute, but you cannot do both at the same time. So I think the more you distance yourself from the drama, and the more you attach yourself to your goal or your bigger vision or mission. And when I say goal, vision, mission, it's not anything to do with just financial goals. Also, like, personal goals, relationship goals, of your goal of trying to be the best mother to your child. So if that's your goal, then what is it that you're doing for it, or doing in order to make that work for you? So it could be any goal, like, lot of time when I say goal, people just think it's a financial thing. But, it's like, you feeling healthy about your lifestyle, your energy level, and your sleep, and those kind of goals also. So I think, okay, my light's gone. So yeah, it'll be back, I think.
That's
So yeah,
okay.
so attach yourself to your goals and distance yourself from the drama, irrespective of what your environment is. And I think that can really help you stay sane. And
This
also,
was
yeah, this
an yeah.
other thing is that, don't attach your happiness, and this is something that I'm speaking from experience because I've actually gone through this. So, I felt that, it was my role to make sure that everybody around me is happy. So the intent can always be to keep everybody happy, but honestly, no matter how much you try, there will always be a few people that will not be happy with what you're doing. So idea is to not attach your happiness to people and things, but to your goals. So when you can attach it to your goals, that's when you can truly start to enjoy the journey, I feel. Yes.
Wow. Such an eye opener, Riddhi. It was a bulb on.
Thank you.
So, coming to my next question, Riddhi, we all know that our education system is disrupted. How do you think it has affected the new age parents and the children at the same time?
So more than disrupted, I would like to use the word not designed not designed very efficiently to give the
Yeah.
results that our children should be getting. Having
Hmm.
said that, I think that the only way to replace something is to create something. So I don't think that we can completely eliminate the current education system. So I just feel that as parents we can step up and we can teach our children the things that are not being taught in school. So it's not like, I think school is important because more than, academics and what they're learning in terms of ABCD and all of that, I think, meeting children their age, the social skills, learning to be in an environment which is not the most comfortable environment for you. Those are also life skills which you cannot provide to your child if your child is at home, because at home it's always going to be comfortable for them. So it's important you put them in a space which is not the most. Now, teaching things like public speaking and power of thoughts, emotions, some schools are actually now doing all of this also, but yeah, most schools are still not being able to catch up. So you can fill in as a parent, right? You can have those kind of conversations with your child. So again, like, let's not complain, let's not blame, let's not focus on what's missing. Let's focus on seeing how we can really fill what is missing. So how can
Yeah.
we really fill it in? So what is it that we can do to make it a little better for our children as compared to what it was for us? And I think with time it's only going to get better. And I think that's the way to do it. So let the school happen and then you keep doing your thing on the side. And at least for me, that's what I'm following. Like, I keep doing my thing on the side and I let the school do what the school is doing, and then we'll see what happens.
So
Yes.
actually, recently I heard about this. Okay, one professor, I met her personally, and she was a professor in MIT, but she was the head of department of peace. Peace is a subject which is being taught to them.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So
Great.
yes,
Yeah.
the education system is also working hard to bring in these elements which are absolutely important for children, uh, for our future children, right? For their
Yeah.
development. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much for throwing some light on that. Also, what I would like to know is, what do you think should we do as coaches to address this issue? Like you have mentioned that public speaking or uh, power of thoughts need to be taught to children. So, as coaches, what kind of initiatives do you see us taking ahead, and which will shape the future of the children?
You're right. So I think for me, I personally feel that, it's very important to work with the parents more than the children, because you can work with the child, let's say, and, you can really help the child for a certain amount of time. But if you've not worked with the parent, I think whatever work you've done would not last for too long. So I think that's one thing that I would like. So that's why I chose to work with mothers in particular, because I think then the impact on the children would stay for much longer. That, and also as a coach, I think you need to pick one problem that you want to address and then see whatever best you can do in order to address that particular problem, instead of trying to address multiple things and not being able to do it effectively. Pick one problem and then just stick with that problem and try to do the best in terms of helping. So if you're picking public speaking, then that is your thing. So see how you can really help children become like experts at public speaking, or not expert, then at least better than what they were. It's like
Right.
a journey, right? So you
Absolutely.
help them get better. So if you're working with mothers, just see if you can help them feel better about themselves, and then of course energetically pass on all of that to their children. So I think getting clarity about what problem you're solving and why are you really wanting to solve that problem, to understand the why, is very important. So as a coach, I think to know your why is very important, because that's what is going to allow you to work without getting tired. Otherwise, you'll burn out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Riddhi, for your valuable inputs. I'm pretty sure that, people have got some nuggets, some value nuggets. And last but not the least, question is that any last piece of advice that you would like to give to the parents, to the newbie parents?
Right. So this is the same thing that always stick with, is that, the more we work on ourselves, the lesser we have to work on our children. So instead of trying to do too much with your child, start working on yourself, and the results will start to show on your child. So I think, yes, I think the focus should always be on becoming a better version of yourself, because our children don't do what we ask them to do; they do what they see. So let's try and show
Absolutely.
them the best version that we can.
Wow.
Yes.
Super. Thank you. Thank you so much, Riddhi, for joining me in this chat. Well, we are done with this particular
Right.
session, and thank you so much, Riddhi, for joining me in this chat. And if you've got some value nuggets, just type in value nuggets in the chat box. Thank you so much, each one of you who have joined and watched this video till the end. And I'll be back with yet another episode of Insights from Experts, and I'll see you there. Bye bye. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Apurva. Thank you.